Hi, everyone, and welcome into a new listrak webinar all about email creative best practices. This is going to be covering a lot of the basics, but it's going to be important for all users. So everyone from beginners to advanced can take away some of the important information about building your emails in listrak. My name is Mel, and I am a designer here in the listrak Implementation Services Department. And I am joined by my colleague here who can do a quick intro as well.
Thanks, Mel. My name's Andrew. I'm also a graphic designer in the Implementation Services Department at listrak. And today we're going to take a look at using the listrak Media Library, how we can build emails from scratch and how we can leverage templates, how we optimize assets, how we can ensure mobile optimization, and how we can save and manage your email creatives and campaigns.
Let's get started talking about the media library. So, Andrew, what do you think is one of the most important things for managing your media library?
I think the most important thing in maintaining a healthy media library is keeping folders organized and by having a consistent naming convention for your imagery.
I totally agree. When a media library is, messy or just really full, of hundreds or thousands of images, having those folders is fantastic. Now, in terms of what goes into those folders with that naming convention, let's talk specifically about some image stuff. So, first of all, when you are naming your images, make sure that you don't put spaces in there. Either have it be all one word, use camel case, hyphens, underscores, etc., because the browser will not like having those spaces in there and it replaces it with some funky characters that sometimes mess up your inbox. In addition, with those images, we want to make sure that we are creating what are called retina images. A retina image is a double-sized image. So if it displays at 600, we want to export it at 1200 pixels wide. And this is for high-resolution screens. They have a higher pixel density. So if you show just a regular one-to-one image is going to be a little fuzzy and blurry. So we want to make sure that they're nice and crisp and clear by making retina images. And then we also want to make sure we compress it because this is going to be a larger file because you're making everything twice as big. So we recommend using a third-party tool, something similar to Tiny PNG, where you can take your final image, run it through the compressor, and reduce the file size.
A tool that's helpful to use in Composer is called Save Content. It helps you to efficiently build and update assets that can be used in multiple messages. It lets you edit in one piece of saved content, and then that edit will be pushed out to every message where that saved content exists. Places where this can be helpful is in the header, footer, site-wide promo banners, or other global assets.
So now let's actually dive into creating emails in listrak. And we wanted to kind of break it into two different concepts. And the first is utilizing templates. So this is a separate section within the navigation of listrak that allows you to create a reusable template. It can have everything from a regular message. It's just that you can pull this template into any saved message on any list within the platform. So this is super helpful if you want to have your header and footer and those banners that you usually have in your marketing messages, maybe some recommendations and things. You build out this one email, and then when you are creating your broadcast sends, you can pull that template in. It will already have a lot of your key elements, and you just have to make some adjustments to it. You can also have multiple templates. So maybe you, for your broadcast sends, pretty much have three or four layouts that you use. Maybe this one is a product focused email, this one is a collection focused email, and this one is a sale email. And all of them have different layouts. So you can have three different templates in your account and then pull in the one that is most applicable. The one thing to remember with templates is that if you pull it into a saved message and make changes, it will not go back up and adjust the template, which is great for everyday use. But if you want to update the template, you have to go into the templates area of listrak to make those changes.
Another way that we can build messages in listrak is by creating a new message from scratch. These can be as simple or as complex as you want them to be. But basically, you'll create a new message, be able to drag in any media, any assets, any saved content, and build messages the way that you want them to be. You can use HTML or composer elements depending on your preference. You can also do save as to create a copy of a message that gives you a duplicate that you can start building from as well.
Now we want to get into some sizing recommendations. We want to talk about both file size as well as some various dimensions to kind of stick to. First of all, you always want to make sure that your HTML is less than 106 kilobytes, specifically for Gmail. After 106, it will truncate your message, which is where it will put three little dots at the bottom that need to be clicked on in order to see the rest of the message. So if you do not want your messages cut in half, make sure that your HTML is less than 106K. Luckily, this is only your HTML. It does not include your image file sizes. So most messages are going to be under 106K, and our Composer tool is also optimized to make our file sizes as small as possible.
Listrak Composer sets messages at 600 pixels wide. It is possible to add HTML into messages. We advise not adding anything over 700 pixels wide to ensure deliverability and proper previewing of messages. Within Composer, you can have multiple column layouts. You can have two, three, or four column options. There are also options to adjust for mobile view.
And then finally, we want to make sure that the file size of our images are smaller. We want to make sure that they are less than 500 kilobytes in size because we want them to load as fast and as quickly as possible. One thing to remember with this when you're doing animated GIFs, they are going to be huge by default because of how much information is in the file. The more you have in there, such as a video, it is going to skyrocket right past your 500K. So make sure that your file size is smaller, maybe using line art or less colors, different things like that to reduce the file size. And then also run it through a compressor, like we said with the media library. A lot of your customers are going to be accessing email on their phone. So, Andrew, why don't you tell us what's really important when it comes to making sure your message works for all users?
When we build messages in Composer, it's important to keep in mind that what you're viewing on desktop is going to look differently on a mobile device. Our messages on desktop are 600 pixels wide. On mobile, it's going to be substantially smaller, around 375 pixels. So any images that you have are going to scale. Any text is going to display differently. It's important to start thinking about how you can stack or adjust images. If there are two columns, we can adjust them so that column A is stacked over top of column B. In Composer, we have the option to hide or unhide specific message elements. We can use HTML to hide images. We can hide navigation elements so that our messages aren't taking up too much space on mobile.
If you're working with imagery in your messages, you want to make sure that if it has any text within it, that you add an alt tag. We do want to avoid building your entire messages images from top to bottom, but using some here and there, such as like hero images, headlines, a big graphic banner, or something like that, it makes sense to use just an image, but you want to have that alt tag in there. If the image doesn't show, it will then show the alt text. So the user can still read what is in the message and they will still understand what is in the message. They just won't see the pretty picture. Bouncing off of that, you really should leverage live text whenever you can. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your text is at least 16 pixels for optimal readability. The smaller it is, especially on a phone, it's going to be incredibly difficult to read. So we aim for 16 pixels for your body copy, larger for headlines. The only real exception is like fine print disclaimers or, your your company address in the footer of the message. But those can be smaller. Composer goes all the way down to 10 pixel font, but we want to obviously not use a 10 pixel font for your paragraphs in the message, your button text, etc.
After we have our messages built and ready to go, it's important to send test messages to desktop and mobile clients to confirm that the messages look the way that you intend. So it's good to always send yourself a test message, whether it's an Outlook or Gmail, as well as to any email client that you have on your phone to make sure that the image is rendering properly, that it looks good on mobile as well as desktop.
Our last section before we dive into the platform with a small demo is going to actually focus on saving and managing your creatives. Andrew, what's your first tip?
A good thing to keep in mind is that you only want to have one tab of listrak Composer open. If you have Composer open in multiple tabs, you might lose track of what message you're editing, or you could overwrite any work that you've done. As you're building campaigns and finalizing your creative, it's important to keep a record or a master copy of the message that you've built outside of your analytics.
That's a really great point. And from those, if you are using either saved messages to keep track of all of your past campaigns, you can use the save as function on one of those messages to easily duplicate. So then you could go into a message maybe you sent last month that you want to use almost the exact same layout. Save as, adjust it, and send it out. With the save as, that means you keep a copy of both of them. Also, make sure that you preview and test your campaigns with either single users on your team, maybe you're a team of one, a designated list. So you could include your supervisor, their supervisor, and maybe another designer or marketing person on your team. And you could also use a review group, which is something set up within listrak that allows you to just send to those people as a review. And it is set up ahead of time. So you don't have to put in each person's email address every time you want to send them a proof. You can just go in there, send it to the review group, and then they can review and get back to you to approve before you launch. So let's hop into listrak and take a look at some of these things we just talked about. Andrew has pulled up listrak, and this is a single message within an account that is going to show you Composer. So when we come into a Composer message, you'll see that we have our sidebar down the right-hand side here that has our elements. This is where you will be able to pull in whatever you want to do. Earlier, Andrew talked about column layouts. So this is where you can add in those different sections with different columns by simply dragging and dropping. And then you can fill these items with pictures, text, buttons, whatever you need for your layout. Additionally, if you go to the bottom section of the sidebar, you will see structured content. And this is where you're going to find our favorite little guy, saved content. So this is how you will be able to add your footer and your header into the message to just reuse content, and then you only have that one place that you need to adjust. There are other sections here in structured content that are going to be super useful and helpful, and we will go over these in future sessions as well. But if you have questions on dynamic content or product blocks or anything like that, you can reach out to your account manager and they can help you. When you are working with these columns here, you also have the ability to adjust for mobile. Here, Andrew has already brought in a four column section, and we're going to go over here to the right where it says mobile layout. And this is actually where you can control the differences between desktop and mobile. This is where you can have the columns simply scale down or stack in various ways. You can also hide. And then what's really nice is you can change your alignment on mobile as well. So if everything in your text is left aligned on desktop and you want it center aligned on mobile, you just simply do this and then it will change. Now we're going to do a preview here. And if we scroll down a little bit, you can see our four columns. And if you change to mobile, you will see how they now are 2 by 2 instead of 4 across. Another way to see how your message is going to look, instead of just using the preview, is as we discussed earlier, rigorously test all of your messages to make sure it looks good on desktop and mobile. And here, Andrew is filling in a test email, and then you simply hit send test. And then this will send a full version of the email you just built right to your inbox. Now, once you've built your message, you're going to hit apply in Composer. But one thing to keep in mind is that didn't save your message. You do have to make sure you save every single time, or else you're going to lose all that work. Additionally, that same area where you just hit the save button is where you can hit a save as to make a duplicate copy of this message without affecting what you just did. So now this will allow you to save as, make changes, and you have two very similar emails, but you're able to have differences without affecting each one. We really hope that this has been super helpful and sets you up on your feet for when you are building messages in listrak. If you do have additional questions, always feel free to visit the Help Center or contact your account manager. And as we teased at the beginning, there are going to be more webinars coming out specifically about building your emails and creative within listrak. So, Andrew, you want to send us out?
Look forward to showing you more in Composer in the future. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.